Well, at least it wasn't like I often say that the NATO uses Ukraine like a prophylactic to Russia, but at least you didn't use that one. Well, if in the first couple seconds this is not the right video, feel free to just be like, "Hey, Colby, pull it." Do you say something
Sure.
like that?
Oh man, I'll do a you impression. It'll be
There you go.
great.
That'll be awesome. There you go. All right. So, without further ado, Conscious Resistance mini documentary featuring Derrick Broze, documented by Teese Snyder of Canada. I like to say of Canada. All right. So let's let it roll.
Yeah, it started just being locked up and being in a fucking place where I felt completely powerless, which is, I think, something that I don't know if a lot of people get to experience that all the time, because we're just sheltered in so many ways, but feeling powerless in the sense of like, I'm in these four walls and there's nowhere I can leave until they say I can't go to the bathroom when I want privately, I can't go to sleep, I can't do anything until these people say you're leaving. And in that space, I just started digging deep, and thankfully I had a grandma who is since passed, but she's always been one of my biggest spiritual influences, and she started sending me books on uh, what she called centering prayer, which is basically like a Christian form of meditation, as well as Zen Buddhism. And so while I was locked up, I started meditating, started opening myself up to, you know, dare I say, God for the first time, and just, yeah, starting that journey. And part of that was getting sober off all the crazy drugs and everything like that, but a lot of it was also starting a healing journey, because I'd grown up visiting my birth father in prison since I was like 4 or 5 years old for his drug addiction.
Masterful, Teese. From the content itself to the editing, that's really impressive, bro.
Thanks,
Well
man.
done,
Couldn't have done
sir.
it without you.
Amazing.
I thought that was hilarious, dude. I'm like, oh, that's the example you used.
Such a good one. It's so good. It ties it all together. Without that, oh, I'm lost. All
You know
right.
what they say about first impressions. That's how a lot of people will meet me. He's the guy who used the. Well, at least it wasn't like I often say that the NATO uses Ukraine like a prophylactic to fuck Russia, but at least you didn't use that one.
No, I've actually said the same thing, just with a different analysis. But yeah, that's great. Yeah, yeah.
I use a 13th grade word like prophylactic, and then only people who are like, "Oh, I get what he's saying. I see." But it's the rubber glove. That was the more fifth grade explanation that I was using for the British example.
Well, I
Paul, what
thought
did you
it's
think? Oh, go ahead, Steve.
oh yeah, no, it's just like what you're it's a beautiful metaphor. It is. However crude or lewd we can view it on the surface, it's just a beautiful metaphor. Exactly what freaking happened continues to happen, and then just juxtapose that with the little finger dangling and then the string attached to the antiquity. That's where we're at, still in the contemporary.
And to be included among such esteemed colleagues whose work I've long appreciated in almost every case. I don't think there's anyone there who I'm not a fan of their work for a long time. Um, very appreciative, bro.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like the piece that you did on Hervoye, like just watching that alone, and then getting to meet him as a guest, felt like there was like more of a connection because I got to see a bit behind the mind of the guy who's doing the work. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think all of Tease's pieces are fantastic.
That's a
But
good title. You can get that
New
.com, I bet.
series. New series.
TeesesPieces.com. Buy it
No,
right
that is
now.
actually how they made fun of me in elementary school. So it's good to know that we started with like we're regressing here.
Yeah.
This is great. We're
Get,
going
there
together.
you
All
go.
right.
Teese's Pieces.
I can
And to
attest,
see, yeah, go
Canadian
ahead.
children are pretty cruel, so they would call people candy bar related insults
And
pejoratives.
you got, yeah, you guys are known for being so polite.
It's all phony.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's Canadians are not polite. Mexicans, genuinely nice people. Canadians, not nice people. No.
How
I
was it
think
down in Morelia, dude?
What's up?
How was it in Morelia?
Oh, it was like all of Mexico, other than me being sick, a complete week that I was there. The entire time I was in Acapulco, like volcano diarrhea. I lost 6 pounds in 1 week. So, other than getting hit multiple times with that over the course that I was there, it's a beautiful and wonderful country, and freedom still lives. They aren't necessarily well equipped or versed in the technocratic control grid, the gradual advancement of it, the degree to which it's going to permeate every facet of their society, and that's looking pretty bad. But come time they catch wise, they're gonna break ground pretty quick.
Yeah, the
Do you know?
Morelia story is so amazing. Like, I know Derek's made a documentary about how they came to be in that place to begin with. I definitely want to encourage everyone to go check that out. It's crazy. It's amazing stuff.
Well, first, I want to say that you did a great job of showing Derek and Miriam in their environment and like all the people's lives that they touch and the types of things that they spend all their time, energy, and money, I'm sure, like doing those types of activities because he's got a lot of plates spinning between Freedom Cells Network and Conscious Resistance and Exit and Build and other activity, the People's Reset, all these different campaigns. And then secondly, do you know what a Grail, Grayl water filter is? It's like a water bottle that has a Berkey filter built into it. And so when you travel to different countries, you can purify your water with that and just take it with you. And, that might be a parting gift for
It
tonight's
was the
Grand Theft
food that
Auto.
hit me.
It was the food. All right. Well,
Yeah, yeah. No, like I wasn't drinking the water. No, yeah.
sometimes they get you with ice cubes though.
No. That wasn't
All
the
right.
problem. It was
All right.
the food. Yeah.
Yeah. And by they get you, it's like you forget not to say no ice.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good idea to I don't know how one would acclimate themselves to what I got struck by. I think they even have a word for it. It's like Montezuma's revenge. It's
Rites
like,
of passage.
yeah.
Yeah,
This Vision Quest.
I gotta throw this on the record too. I just want to tell like how Derek has had such a huge, profound effect on me too. We when 2020 happened, my first instinct before I knew anything about decentralized communities or about agorism or any of this stuff, our first instinct, I had a small group of friends. There was like three of us, and we're like, we need to find the other people in our community that are like-minded to us. And we were like 3 episodes into the Truthzilla podcast, the original podcast, and a listener told us about this meetup they were doing up in Portland. We were in Eugene, about 2 hours south, and it was under the banner of the Freedom Cell Network, and this was all new to us. And so we
You
drove
thought
up.
it was a cell phone network, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we went up to Portland and we went into this, and this was like probably like June, July 2020. And we walked into this yoga studio, and there's a bunch of people sitting there with no masks on, like cross-legged on the floor. And we were a little late, so we walked in and they were talking about chemtrails. And we're like, oh my God, these are our people. And that was my first experience being in like a room, a gathering of like-minded people during like an intense situation like that. And we're like, oh my gosh, it was a very profound experience. And that's what's driven so much of my organizing and like really trying to do meetups. And so it all stemmed from that meetup. So we went and started our own Freedom Cell node in Eugene called the Oregon Willamette Valley Freedom Cell, which is still in existence, still a few hundred people in that group on Telegram. And it was just like absolutely life changing. And so, the Freedom Cell Network was such a huge lifeline to me and has inspired so much of my work and my message and everything about what I'm all about today is like directly from the Freedom Cell Network. So it's just like so huge, man. So I like
That's
how
a,
you encapsulated that. So that's awesome.
no, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's actually a really profound and important phenomena in a metaphor ripple effect way that is disseminating from each of us every single day as we exist in a kind of peripheral orbit of one another in this collective conversation. And Paul, I really value your insight in the sense of having seen Hervoge's story before speaking to him, you have that personal connection already. And that's such a meaningful and profound and poignant thing that media offers us. It's not supposed to be the way in which it's been hijacked by the mainstream. It's supposed to be us actually making significant connections with one another conducive to the betterment of each other. And that's everything.
And I feel like you did that with the Derrick piece as well. Like it's a huge service because I think there's a lot of mystique that builds up around people, especially when they come on the scene, right? Then they're under all this scrutiny, right? And it's like, who are they? Controlled opposition? Who are they? And so by showing them just doing their day-to-day stuff, often not exciting, but showing the efforts that they make, it not only connects you to the actual human being behind the flat screen that we're all looking at when we mostly interact. But it gives you some insight into like what motivates someone, what drives them, because it's actually very rare that any of us are doing this for some other shadowy agenda. Most of us were either stumbled into or were abused into finding out what's going on with gangsters running society.
Yeah, I
And
wasn't shopping conspiracies.
right?
I wasn't out there looking for things that would take up the rest of your life to figure out. Yeah, I wasn't shopping for that.
Yeah, like if we didn't realize there was a matrix to wake up out of, then we would probably just be living our lives like pursuing whatever dreams that we had. But then you find out you're in this kind of matrix, and it's like, how how does everyone not already know this? Like you said about 9/11, Tease, it's like, oh, this will be solved in a year. Everyone, the evidence is so overwhelming. And then you realize, oh, there's so many layers of mind control going on to keep people blind, to keep them in the cave with the blindfolds on, looking at the shadows. And so every little effort of connecting people, not just with the truth, but with the people who are trying to give them the truth, so that people can separate the agenda people selling gold and other things for different people versus those of us who are just scraping by and doing this out of a sense of duty and goodness for our fellow man.
Yeah, no, said and spot on. I mean, it's really a horrific thing that people can conceive of the notion of alternative media, one, as if Alex Jones is representative of it, and two, as if we're all faring as well as he has. And the reality is we're scraping by and just trying to show up to do another day so that we can do the service that we're supposed to out of moral obligation given the situation that we're in. So it's extremely important, and that personal dynamic is paramount to being able to connect to the public, who most I find, and this is a quote from Conspiracy Synergy, they're more about branding than they are about understanding. So this is where I'm at. We're kind of like, all right, as a truth community, we really got to level up our branding. And it's not because that's what we're like. I don't care personally, but a lot of people, that's the only thing they hear. You can't just walk up to them and say the fact. You got to walk up to them and give them the feels. And that's what this is.
Yeah, and I think what's so important now in this era that we're moving into is action. Like we have to take action, and I gravitate towards people that are action oriented, right? And Derrick is such an incredibly good example of that, like action and solutions. You know, his characterization. And actually, that's another thing too. His book, The Conscious Resistance Trilogy, I read that, and that changed my life too, because he was describing what we were already doing with the Freedom Cell movement, with the whole idea of agorism, anarchy, and action. That whole thing. And so, you know, I see him in action, and then Tease, you as well. You are very much in action. Like you take the initiative to drive forward these things using your art, and it's just really awesome to see, man. So congrats on that, dude.
Where can people
I-
support your endeavors, Tease? Right? Because
Yeah,
I was
no,
going to
mean,
say that before we showed the video, but now that they've seen the video and they've had a couple minutes to come down off the emotional escalator and they can make rational decisions and be like, look, we probably should make sure that there's freedom related media out there that's not owned and bought off by international lobbyist organizations
Yeah.
who might give you Chatham House rules meetings.
Yeah, no, that pool's full of pee. I wouldn't recommend jumping in with that beanie. Anyway, as far as the whole where we're at with supporting me, it's one of those things where I'm completely invested in this project. I am going to continue to do these. I have the next one filmed already, so I'm sitting around for a month and a half to 2 months. I'm in research mode for the next week, and I kind of like toggle that way. I'll go between the studying of everybody to the then pivoting back to get my bearings within the creation of the media so that I'm as well informed about the people I'm doing the projects on. So I'm not there just like scrambling and trying to keep up. I'll be studying usually people or subjects for years in advance. So this is
Did
a
you have to learn
long-
any recipes to hang out with Ryan? And is he at the next episode?
Ryan is a part of the next one. Yeah. So Ryan is lumped in with the next one will probably end up being like 20 or 30 minutes. So it might
Good.
actually take me 2 months to do. And the problem is that a lot of people who don't see the work that you're doing behind the scenes, they only ever see you when you're on the screen. They're like, oh, I'll give him $5 because I saw him today. It's like, I'm going to be doing like 10 to 12-hour days, like barely doing anything else for a couple of months to be able to create like
there's
the last
thousands of edits in that piece.
yeah,
that
yeah.
you just,
The last 2 minutes of that one we just watched took me 4 freaking days to do it. And it's just, and like nonstop for those 4 days. So it's like a lot goes into it. So please do support the project. Do understand that I am out there doing this. Even if you don't see me for a while, that's what I'm up to. And then I'll come back and I'll try and offer you something for free that you can give to everybody on the highest caliber of media that I am able to create in an emotional, poignant manner that allows you to bridge the divides that are increasingly being disseminated by the poison that is introduced to our lives by the mainstream media and all of the oligarchic owners. So you can support me, who is completely separate from all of that, giving you everything in a value for model for free by going to conspiracysynergy.com. Donate. You can do that in any number of different ways. Buy me a coffee, Patreon, all the regular, usual crypto kind of stuff, PO box, etc., and so forth. Or you can just share it with your friends and family. You can get together, do watch parties. Any number of different creative ways in which you want to disseminate the information. Please take the initiative on that and don't wait for my permission. If you want to burn it, you want to share it, you want to do whatever you want to with it. The point is, we're up against a elite class that has infiltrated every bureaucratic function that surrounds us, and they are utilizing that to try and do some pretty horrifying things. So let's get the upper hand on this one by high-fiving one another.
Yeah,
That's
and
a
there's
good deal, and
links,
everyone can make their own amount. But see,
there's
that's
links
freedom.
wherever you're watching this: Rumble, Rockfin, YouTube, Odyssey. There's links in the episode description to take you right to the donate page, and I want you all to go do that for sure.
And after you guys are done with that, become Grand Theft World members, and we'll make
Of
sure
course,
we
yes,
keep
of
bringing
course.
T. Snyder's
course.
to you. See, that was a multiplicity callback. All right, so someone mentioned agorism and Konkin, and Scott, did you not listen to Peace Revolution episode
No, and then,
93?
of
Because I
course,
gave
yes,
the history of all
the
that
most,
stuff.
and then
That was
yes,
before 2020. That was a 2018 podcast. So
Yep,
you
no,
could have known by 2020 what to do.
I know it was around that time that I really was getting into Peace Revolution. In fact, I remember listening to that podcast when I was working on this
For 20 hours.
This ranch here in Nashville. So I'd known
Put
I
in
was
3 miles of fence during that podcast.
Dude, I was working on this ranch for this music producer guy here. I was like their groundskeeper for like a year when I first moved here. I was like one of my first handyman gigs, and I remember listening to that, working out there, and I'm like, damn. But no, but really, Derrick's the Conscious Resistance trilogy was the first intro to the word agorism and all that stuff, and then your presentation unpacked it and allowed me to understand the philosophy, the economics, and Konkin, and then I went from there. The new Libertarian Manifesto. I started reading that stuff, and so yeah, you helped me further elucidate that topic.
Peace Revolution episode 93 is the history and evolution of libertarian philosophical and economic theory. And it's like a 20-hour episode. So there's a lot of different stuff in there, including the political mumbo jumbo that they were doing with the party and stuff like that. But the idea was I was going to have 2 episodes, the history and evolution, and then practical applications of everything from that episode. And as a practical application, I launched Autonomy, and then Autonomy took off, and I didn't have time to go back and make episode 94. But I have many more episodes of Peace Revolution planned and in folders at some point when I get to that part of, when you are a chef in a kitchen, to use a Ryan Christian metaphor, you got stuff all over, and sometimes stuff's on the back burner, and you turn that burner off because I can't keep an eye on it right now or do anything with it. I got other stuff. I got a saute dish here for table 9, and they've already had a problem. Like I'm under pressure as a chef trying to cook it all out. So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing Ryan's episode where he cooks food because it made me hungry.
Yeah, and then Pasta was cooking at the venue a la the Beef Initiative, donating a whole bunch of things. So yeah,
Texas
it's one of those, you get a lot of cutaways if you're creative. Just get dogs and food and things that people like, and you could tie together completely unrelated locations.
Yeah, Hitchcock called it a cat in a window shot, but it could be a dog in a window, it could be a dog on a table, it could be a dog upside down shot. There's all sorts of shots you could do, but it's about continuity because people don't like blank screen. That's the gist. Now you guys are filmmakers too. You have a film studio in your pocket. Go forth and multiply. It's easy, just like T said. There's no work to it.
Yeah, it's not like it takes decade on decade of refinement and agonizing like isolation with very little appreciation or financial support to eventually just try and make it at all. No, nothing like that.
It takes time to get good, is what he's saying. It takes time to become excellent. But, if you studied 20 hours this weekend how to make films, like with the camera in your pocket, like you might have a thing going on, right? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, something like that. Or am I thinking of that movie The Way Back about the gulags again?
No. Like the point that you made earlier about on Scott's note about how he was following inspiration in order to be able to find the notes to play. And then you made the point that, well, you got to be starting to play those notes in order to be able to find that inspiration is very true. And so I attended New York Film Academy, which is fun because their head office was in Tammany Hall. And they had a large mosaic of Lenin, because if you understand the history of filmmaking, it was something that appealed to a population that was largely illiterate and was able to compel them to be able to go out there and make movements on behalf of certain interests. So it's one of those things where it's kind of just like these large historical threads that a lot of the time go over our heads, but then they weave back together. So you find yourselves in the middle of them. And you never know any of that until you get up and you just start trying. So at New York Film Academy, the first things that you do in New York Film School, like NYU, you sit in a chair for a couple of years reading a book about a camera. That doesn't make any sense. So the one I went to, they give you a camera the first week you're there. They say, go make a movie with it. And you have no idea how to make a movie. You don't know what you're doing. And they're like, you're going to learn by doing it. And that's how this works. So exactly what Rich said.
beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
So,
just
over
wanted
your
to-
heads with threads. You're trying to rhyme during my time. I would say you can't find your pace till you run the race. But I would say it like Christopher Walken. If I could do that again, I can't. But go ahead, Scott.
Well, I was just gonna say it's so fun watching Tease work as well. Like at the carnival, I was like, Tease, make sure you take some time to have fun. And he's like, I'm not here to have fun. I'm here to make all of you look good. And I'm like,
Make
okay.
art.
And then we had this whole thing where it was pouring rain, it was storming, and he was just wearing like tennis shoes, whatever, and like they'd get soaking wet. We'd dry them out at night. I'm like, bro, I got boots. You can borrow some of my boots. And he's like, no, dude, I can't move in the boots. I gotta be nimble. I gotta be in. And so he's like just sacrificing him. You guys just walking around in soaking wet shoes all day.
He's a real
sacrifice-
craftsman.
Exactly, dude. Like and he had a whole way of articulating the importance of. You want to tell us, Steve? Like, come on, it's so good, dude.
Yeah, my camera teacher at New York Film Academy was talking about one of the things that you can do in order to really be on your game with the flow as a camera operator is to take dance classes, and then you can practice dancing with the camera. So you can think of how each different kind of artistic medium can inform another so that you're able to make it more poignant and beautiful.
Christopher Walken, cameraman. I didn't do it either. See,
I saw
like
you like practice it in your
I get
head.
like a 2. I get like a 2 out of 5 on that. I tried. And sometimes if you try and show up and fail, you can learn from that experience, which I haven't done yet. So maybe I won't try again. Maybe I'll quit on myself. Or I don't know. Do I really need a Walken impression? There's so many out there on the market.
Well, I mean, you can start off walking, eventually you'll build up to running.
Walken, we'll be talking. All right. So, I'm sorry. That's like he's never been there, right? We wore that out real fast. All right, so Tease, you want to hang out while we watch some clips on international Zionism? And
Sorry, you
Scott?
just brought up a very good joke and the bin there thing, and I was laughing about that. I don't know. I usually go to bed pretty early and wake
It's like
up
getting
at
caught
4.
passing a note in class. Please do share with the class now, Tease. What's the joke? Is it good for airtime or not?
No, the bean there joke.
Being there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever walked there? I've never walked there in my entire life, but eventually I might sprint.
Freedom is a super marathon, not a sprint, Mr. Walken. But Walken might have been a good cinematographer because he does know how to dance. So that's what we've learned so far. Brought to you by T. Snyder,
I'll take credit for Christopher Walken's
candidate for
dance.
Prime Minister of Canada.
Yeah, no, it would make sense that we'd end up with a carny running the circus.
Thank you. I've been trying to make that joke for weeks, bro. I just could not pull it together in its vernacular. And I think it's Mike Myers in one of those movies. You know what scares me? Carnies. Isn't that a line? Can we use the chat GPT, find out what movie that's from? Because it's been weeks.
Pretty sure it's So I Married an Axe Murderer.
See, there you go. That's the Pentaveret. There's a couple good references in there then. So, or maybe we figured that out last week now that I think about it. All right. So, Teach, you want to hang out while we do the international Zionism section?
How long is it?
Oh, I don't know. It's going to go on for hours probably. There's a lot
Bro,
of stories.
I go to bed at like 8 and it's almost 10 here. So I think it's probably best for me to dip out now and I
Parachute out. We don't land at the island that we're flying over right now. We're flying over London, England. We're just going to parachute you out, and King Chucky's going to take care of you. He's all in harmony and ecology. You'll have a great conversation with him.
Yeah.
Or if you wait an hour, we could probably drop you in Newfoundland. But
I'll tell you. Okay, if we're bringing up the association
kidding.
between Canada and King Cuck, then I'm going to allude to the appropriate So here's the deal. I have dual citizenship. I was born in the States. I got my Canadian citizenship when I was like 17 or whatever.
So you're like an Anglo-American type guy? Part Queen,
okay,
part
well,
America?
Well, Canada is like what? It's 80% of the land is owned by the crown still, and it's like a 70% trade partner with the US, something like that. I don't know exactly what the stats are, so it's like, are we anything other than like an East India Trading Company worker colony? Question mark.
Hudson Bay.
Okay, yeah, no,
They have
you
better
know
blankets.
better than I would, man. You know better. But the point is when you're doing your swearing in citizenship ceremony, they still make you swear allegiance to the Queen. But I'm in a room full of other people who are all saying the same thing at the same time, so I swore allegiance to Queen Latifah.
Oh, not the band. I would have gone with maybe they had some good tunes back in the day about a bicycle and stuff. Anyway, I'll let you get to bed. Thank you so much for your hard work. We will wait patiently for the next, let's call it 6 weeks, not 8 weeks. Instead of 2
Oh.
months, let's be optimistic. You
If
can
it's
get
like 30 minutes, dude, you don't even know how long this takes. No,
Maybe
you
you
do
sh-
know. You did State of Mind.
yeah, I
My
do.
God.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I have cut my teeth. So yeah, take your time, do your art, have no expectations. Don't let anyone tell you any different because you're the artist.
Sure.
That's my
All right.
advice.
Thanks for having me on, Rich.
Yeah.
Honor and
It takes a
privilege
man of
always.
the highest virtue to withstand the highest bidder. So well played for remaining strong and independent.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the Adam Curry, I believe, when we had him on, he said that value for value is the vow of poverty. So yeah.
He was an MTV VJ. What's he know? He just invented podcasting.
Yeah, right.
T.
But yeah,
Snyder, everybody, where can they find you?
so my art website, which is all of the movies, Blindfold, which I mentioned earlier, Hold Me, and which was my first feature film, and all of the books that I've made a point of putting out for free, as well as Conspiracy Synergy, can be found at teace.ca. That's teace.ca, or you can go to conspiracysynergy.com to be able to see all of the content that specifically focuses on this realm and trying to break that through to the mainstream.
And soon, teaspieces.com, but not yet.
Yeah, sure. I'll go see if that domain name's open. I also co-host Wednesdays over on AM Wake Up. Ryan Christian co-hosts the Tuesday segment. And yeah, it's one of those things where he's going to be featured in the next one, and it's going to be an ongoing conversation between all of us. So thank you very much for having me on to talk about it. Great seeing you again, Scott. Paul, much obliged. Happy to be here. And I will see you guys again in a few months after I emerge from the digital cage that I will lock myself in to make my art.
Call it a digital cocoon. So much more comfortable.
Okay, I'll up that to a digital womb so that I feel like I'm not another species.
There
See you when you're born again.
Later, bro.
Thanks, guys.
Teases
I'll see you
Pieces
later.
is available. Teases Pieces is available. Go get it.
Teases Pieces, buy it right now.
Okay, yeah, on it.
No, we're buying it. We're going to put up a site for you. It'll be thoughtful.
Twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week course. It teaches leadership, entrepreneur skills, executive skills, all these types of things that I saw were taken out of our education system in order to make the schooling or indoctrination system that we've all probably went through. And it has served us well enough to be interchangeable cogs in the machine of the globalists. But if we want a homestead, if we want write our own ticket, work from home job, work from anywhere type of situation, they're not exactly handing those out at the end of college. They give you a piece of paper and they're like, good luck. So reality is dropping us off here, but the demands of reality are up here. So I created Autonomy to help people close that gap for themselves so they can level up their skills to the demands of the situations that life is putting in front of us presently. Life's demands of intellect and understanding precision and complexity are ever increasing. The schooling didn't prepare us for it. The media is not going to do anything but reinforce what schooling prepared us for. And so we're going to have to take a leadership position and take steps off the beaten path to kind of blaze our own trail in life. What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come